300 takes later. Hey, fellow YouTubers. William here, aka Big Bastard. Obviously, I have not uploaded anything in a long time. I've had a lot going on in my personal life. And those of you who view me regularly know I don't do this as an outlet to make money anyways. Because if I did that, I would get, like, fucking starve to death. Clearly the title indicates what this video is about, what I'm going to be addressing as my main topic. But I want to do a quick rambling update for those who follow me regularly or even semi-regularly, so you guys can know what's been going on with me. On the major side, recently my mother had not one, but two strokes. It was hit and miss for a while, but she's doing okay, as can be after a scenario like that. Actually, some might even say she's doing better than to be expected after a scenario like that. And I will say right quick, the only reason that we got her into the hospital in any reasonable amount of time and it didn't become something worse was because as she was talking to me, I recognized the signs of stroke. And for those of you who don't know, Google it, find out what the signs of strokes are, because recognizing that right away minimizes your chances. Minimizes your risks of that becoming something major. Okay, so some of the things you look for is drooping in the face, slurred speech, droopiness, particularly around the eye area. But you want to make sure that you Google it or find a medical website that has a more thorough deal, because that's just an overall basis. And I actually watched her for several minutes before making sure I was not overreacting and determining that was indeed a stroke. Now, there's been a lot of things I wanted to talk about. I saw The Last Jedi, and I wanted to do a video on that, particularly redressing Angry Joe's points on it. Part of the reason I tag on to Angry Joe's video there is because he has everything laid out nice and neat. It helps me organize my thoughts for the rebuttal process. But not only that, he is basically a major YouTuber who is representing the overall complaints and arguments that a majority of people who did not like Last Jedi are going to be voicing off on. It comes up commonly with those who did not like Last Jedi. As for where I stood on it, you'll see that when I do get the video out. I will do that. I'm not going to promise anything. We know what happens when I promise videos, but God willing, that will get out. Another thing that was holding up the Last Jedi video, he did a rebuttal video, he did a amended video, I guess you could call it. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm having problems gathering my thoughts at the moment. But where he addressed some of the issues that he had erroneously stated, and I wanted to see what those were so I didn't have to deal with redundant arguments there. I also I've had an ace in up my sleeve since the Force Awakens came out, and basically it coincided with other media I was using at the time, other Star Wars media, and basically to get the exact scenario where this happens, I would have to go through massive amounts of Star Wars media, and I'm thinking about just throwing it out there and letting you guys fact check me on it. That's up in the air. We'll see how that goes. I also have been looking at lap band. For those of you who don't know, lap band is considered part of the gastric bypass surgeries. There's actually 3 of them. Now, ironically, Boogie 2998 had finally went in about the same time that I was looking at getting my process done. He went in and he had his surgery for what most people think of as gastric bypass when they tend to think of gastric bypass. It's the more dangerous surgery that basically rearranges your insides so that you can't eat and absorb as much food as you normally would. Fortunately, my health is not hopefully at a point yet where it's considered that drastic. I was actually going to have the process done in December. Some stuff came up, and so I'm actually revising the date on that, and we'll see how that goes. What happens even if I decide to do it, but I'll discuss more of that in a different video. But that makes a nice dovetail to getting into the meat of this subject, because ironically, okay, now my title is controversial. It's going to piss people off. Its intent is not to get views, to generate views. Its intent is to actually put some perspective out there. The first accusation that people might hit me with is, oh, well, you're a Logan Paul follower, and that's why you're defending him. No. And nor, as you will see in the video, nor am I exactly defending him so much as defending his situation. And we'll go in more into that in a minute. Okay. No, I'd never even heard of this guy until this morning, which ironically, this own scenario being ironic, because I had been very concerned. I'm a follower of Boogie 2998s, as you might have figured from my previous remark. Follower of Boogie's, and he recently went through a divorce, as any of his followers know. And a lot of us have been very concerned about him, knowing that he's had severe emotional issues in the past, and just making sure that he does not do anything that would, basically take him away from us, so to speak, self-harm. I'm going to go out and say it because I've never been a big one for euphemism, suicide. And when I checked his videos to see if he'd uploaded anything recently, he had actually had a rebuttal to Logan Paul, and the video was titled something like Letter to Logan Paul. I don't remember exactly the title. I went ahead and clicked on it, because it's always entertaining when Boogie redresses any YouTuber. It's always entertaining and very thoughtful. He's a very thoughtful man, and I admire him greatly. And so I come across what the basic story is here, and I start checking more into it. I find out it's this blowing up controversy, and there's this big ado that, you've got The View talking about it, you've got Phil DeFranco talking about it, and a lot of other major people talking about it, and I'm like, the fuck, man? What is this? It boggles the mind, and it particularly pisses me off. And I'm actually going to get into that right now, why this pisses me off so much. Okay, by no means will I defend the video. Let's get that straight. Let's get that out here right now. I will not defend the video. One, because it's stupid. Two, because it's disrespectful. I have big issues with both. I don't have issues with disrespect as much as I used to. But considering the topic matter, which is particularly serious, okay, that I do have issues with disrespecting. Anybody who has lost their life, I have issues with disrespecting. Okay, no matter how it happened, it's just, many of us are ingrained with a deep respect for those who have passed. Okay, now, as a sociologist and a psychologist in training, I understand that these are social constructs. These are not inherent in nature. I'll deal a little more with that a little later. But right now, suffice it to say that most people have issues with death, with the topic of death, and with any means of disrespect being shown toward the deceased. For the most part. You would be surprised that when this rule magically doesn't apply, but I'm going to address the hypocrisy, and I'm going to actually start addressing the hypocrisy right now. Okay, so you have all these fucking self-righteous assholes getting on their high horses and just beating the shit out of Logan Paul for this video. Funny thing is when this is done in theaters via movies like Jackass, that's okay. You know, that's entertainment. You know, that's fine. We can live with it there. I'm not saying that Jackass has ever went that far, but God knows Jackass has gone far enough on just about anything. And I say this not having watched a majority of it. I had a cousin who tried to get me into it, and I just could not stand that kind of stupid bullshit humor. I hate crude humor. Let me rephrase that. I hate crude humor when it's done stupidly. Intelligent crude humor I don't have issues with. I'm kind of a complex person that way. Okay? And on the other hand, okay, barring Jackass, you've had movies like, if not movies, then series, which it did have one movie, but like Beavis and Butthead, or that Team America shit, or Family Guy, or any of this fucking stuff that has not only taken the lines that have been drawn and pushed them, but fucking outright shattered them in many cases. And sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good for that to happen. Fact is, the reason that all this fucking insanity and this backlash is going on, okay, that there is a great reason why this stuff needs to happen, and I'll explain that. Okay, so Hollywood is clearly complicit in this. Mass media and news agencies are clearly complicit in this, and you might wonder how that is. Well, that is from them taking scenarios like Columbine, Sandy Hook, and what have you, and fucking playing it over and over and over and over. And there was a song done in the 60s or 70s, I don't remember. And it was basically about news reporters going out and just anything for a story. It was called Dirty Laundry, I believe. And just anything for a story. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. And that has been Fox News, CNN's, Headline News's motto ever since they've started. They thrive on controversy. And the bigger the controversy, the more deplorable the controversy, the happier they are. So, these mass shootings, it doesn't bug their conscience at all. Let's drive this shit into the ground. Let's make sure that we run this bitch into the ground and just, let's not even bury it. Let's just go like fucking center of the earth on it. Okay? And so they're complicit. Okay? Because the reason that both these agencies are complicit is because they have created people like Logan Paul. They have taught us to disrespect death. They have taught us to find it comical and humorous. And I'm not against a certain gallows humor. Okay? My family has had EMTs. I haven't been an EMT, obviously, for reasons. We've had EMTs, we've had cops, we've had firefighters in our family, and you will find that people in those professions tend to have a sort of gallows humor about things. Okay? I don't have a problem with that. Okay? I did find Logan Paul's video particularly distasteful, particularly disgusting in the way that it was handled. And I'm like a lot of people, I'm kind of mixed, actually. I saw the actual apology video after he'd taken down his video, issued statements, whatever. I saw the actual apology video, and I do think he was sincere in that. I don't know if that sincerity came from the idea that he might lose his career over this, or if he actually heartfelt, genuinely um, regretted what he had done. I have problems believing that given the nature of the video itself. You don't sit there and make a ridiculously spoofy video about suicide and then turn around and say, oh, I didn't mean that. What you didn't mean is that what you did mean is that you're sorry you see your fucking hits go down. And actually, from some sources, I guess they haven't gone down, so I don't know. I could be too judgmental on that. But getting back to the hypocrisy issue here, okay, so you can see why I have problems with these uber overzealous fucking self-righteous assholes that are putting, and I'm not talking about, like Boogie's letter. That was heartfelt. And he not only recognized the ills from the Logan Paul video, but he recognized what merits it did have, few though they may be. And such as Boogie, I do also think that the ills offset the merits, particularly in the manner in which the video was done, which I haven't seen the whole video. I have seen only clips in these other videos that have talked about it simply because the video has been taken down. I don't think anybody's going to re-air it for fear of reprisal from YouTube. But let's talk about this goddamn censorship thing. People are like, oh, we live in America, we have the right to free speech. That is horse shit. In fact, as you will find, there is a number of rights we don't have. One of the rights we don't have is the right to bear arms. And the reason that we don't have that right is because of stupid people. I'm not going to disagree with that. But let me put it to you this way. Here's what I learned in hunting safety. A right is different than a privilege. Why? Because a right is an unregulated privilege. You have regulation on guns. You have licensing on guns. You have wait periods on guns. That immediately means, by context, that you do not have the right to bear arms. End of story. Is perfectly simple as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not casting aspersions on it. If everybody had free access to weapons in today's society, we would obviously be really fucking worse off than we already are now with the restrictions on weapons as they are. I don't want to get into any political bullshit. By necessity, I have to get into it a little bit concerning free speech. But as far as the right to bear arms, I will say one more thing on that. Criminals are not called criminals because they do things legally. So all these fucking stupid restrictions, clip size, ammunition types, all that shit, that doesn't affect the criminals. They don't fucking do things legally. The day that Congress ever gets that through their goddamn thick skulls. Now, of course, by the same token, there's the other argument, which I can understand just as equally as well, which is then why the hell does a law-abiding citizen who intends to obey the law need a full 15 to 30 and 15 to 30 piece clip, for their automatic weapon. Okay, I do understand that, You ain't gonna go hunting with an AK-47 unless you're trying to make beef or deer jerky from the get-go. Or unless you're trying to make an elk portable. Because, man, you go up in those mountains, you take one of those things down, dressing that sucker is a bitch. I've never done it, but I have heard from people who have. And it's just, you know, you're not going to instantly make it portable by blowing bigger holes through it. Let me tell you that. If anything, you could make the meat worse, you know, as far as gaminess and texture and that. But as far as the right to free speech, you don't no longer have the right to free speech because censorship is enforced not only by regulation but by community, obviously, as we're seeing in this Logan Paul case. Okay. The problem I have with this, you know, we talk about the people speaking out and people taking control. And generally I don't have a problem with community decisions. What I have a problem with is there's this fucking veil of decency. And what the veil isn't thick. Okay, it's by no means thick, but it is opaque, and what it is obscuring, okay, is a fundamental trend towards behaving in the manner that we condemn others for behaving. Okay? And this really pisses me off. I hate hypocrisy in all its forms, and I even try not to be hypocritical myself, and I am aware of those times that I'm hypocritical, and I basically try to self-chew myself out for it. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, how many of these people, you're not going to get me to believe that other than the elitist assholes that are on The View and other networks like that, you're not going to get me to believe that the majority of people now condemning Logan Paul was not laughing at the video and having fun with it, okay? And psychologically speaking, the stronger the condemnation, it is more reflective of the self-loathing that the person has for themselves for actually having partaken in that humor. Okay, so when you look for the really acerbic, the really, assuming again it's not coming from an elitist asshole, because class differences do account for part of this. Okay, but when you see other people, just common people, throwing out this goddamn, these strongly worded rebuttals, and he needs to be taken off the channel, and he needs to be removed from YouTube forever. You know, there's just no excuse for this. A decent human being doesn't do that. Okay, you would be surprised, speaking psychologically, at what decent human beings do, at what decent human beings partake in. Okay, this is psychology's greatest lie, is that, well, I won't say it's psychology's greatest lie, but I'm saying psychology helps reveal this great lie, that we are somehow better than the fucking apes that are roaming the forest. We are somehow better than the wolves that run in packs and tear down caribou for their meals. And I'd say this as a wolf lover, okay? I don't hate wolves, let's get that straight. I don't want to sound like some of the psycho ranchers out here in this Wyoming area that has it not only, I mean, from a practical standpoint, you're obviously going to have issues, but just a sheer hatred for the species, which has been evident in some op-eds that have come out in here. Okay, but this fucking idea that somehow we're better than any species in the animal kingdom, and this goes back a lot to conservative theology, the idea that we're special, we were made by God, we have a purpose, you know, a divine purpose. Okay, that's bullshit. And now, I'm not trying to disrespect you if you believe that way, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from in addressing this, okay? Because at the end of the day, and bear with me if you believe that way, I'm just telling you how I believe. At the end of the day, we're all just animals, okay? Of course, there is the burdens of conscience, there is the burdens of that abstract understanding, that sentience that we have that animals don't. You obviously will never find another animal laughing at another animal's demise. Sometimes I've wondered, watching some wildlife videos, but overall, that's the idea. You will never see an animal taking pleasure in another animal's pain. It's the laws of the jungle. It is what it is. Kill or be killed, eat or be eaten. Very rarely, I want to say, and if you're into zoology or any of those sciences that deal with animals specifically, and the animal kingdom in general, call me out if I'm wrong on this, but as far as I know, animals are not deliberately cruel to one another for just simply the sake of being cruel. It is one redeeming trait that animals have, and one of many that animals have that humans will seem to never be able to reobtain. Okay, at the end of the day, let's understand this, and this goes a lot. The extent, the magnitude of these rebuttals go a lot into play with a psychological concept known as terror threat management. And what terror threat management dictates is that people create certain beliefs, such as the belief in an afterlife, in order to manage their own fears about death. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the reality of death is this: we live, we die, boom, that's it. Nothing more. No afterlife, no spirits, no gods. Boom. We live, we die, we're done. I'm not particularly big on this concept, by the way. I was raised in a conservative Christian home, and I was taught the afterlife, and yeah, it seems like a great idea, but as a scientist, or one who has a scientific bent, I cannot accept that, and that does disturb me because I want there to be something after that, because I'm inherently selfish. I want to live forever if possible. Okay? These stories that we pass down, and you got to understand how I'm tying this together, and I'll give you that in a minute. But these stories we pass down about the afterlife and heaven, and or whatever, nirvana, whatever it happens to be, those are part of terror threat management systems. Another thing that's part of terror threat management systems is the imposition of social order constructs. Okay? And when I talk about social order constructs, I'm talking about the idea that we have mores and we have laws dictating what is unacceptable. Now, the idea of death and disrespecting death, that is if I'm not mistaken, that is a more. It is not something that's legally punishable, but it is considered strongly by the majority of people to be reverently held and should not be mocked or ridiculed for that. Again, I want to stress, these are all sociological constructs. These are all methods of control utilized generally by a ruling organization that imposes rules on people. You will very rarely find a collective society managing its own rules and laws. Generally, that tends to happen in communism, which my psychology teacher, social work teacher, I mean, pretty much everything. She taught us. We talked about Marxism, and she taught us that Marxism is not a sustainable philosophy because you will never find a society where no man is greater than the other. And let me go on a side here for a minute. So when you hear about communist Russia, that's bullshit, because in Marxism, in true Marxism, which is true communism for those of you who don't know, you will never have one man ruling over other men. Marxism is about equality. Marxism is about unification. And that is why it is not a manageable system in the real world. But going back to terror threat management, so we know what that is now, and we know why these people are doing this. Is expected, is part of the sociological construct, is part of our norms. That, when someone does something like this, we fucking destroy them for having ever dared to comment on this in such a manner. And there was another commentator, in just a second, I should be pulling that up here. Forever and a day. But there was another commentator, and he was talking about a lot about this. And he was talking about the extent of the lashback, the magnitude of the lashback is beyond ridiculous. It's not Ben Shapiro, and it's not reasonable it's reasonable to, yes, to condemn it. It's reasonable to speak about this video and express your dismay, express your disgust. But it was not reasonable as trying to end this man's career for a tasteless decision. And Ben Shapiro pointed out we've become in a society where this is increasingly common. Going back to Paula Deen, a situation which always pissed me off. She admitted she used the N-word. And for that bit of honesty, everybody tells you, oh, be honest, God rewards the honest people. Okay, for that bit of honesty, she lost her career. Okay, and I'm not even going to touch on the whole racism issue. Let me be clear, I don't believe in racism. I think racism is disgusting. But I was also raised of a mindset, sticks and stones may break my bones, words will never hurt me. And let me tell you, from someone who is truly oppressed, the obese, and I'm not going to touch the whole choice, non-choice shit. Okay, I'm not going over any of that right now. I'll save it for another video. But take it from someone who is legitimately oppressed, whether you like to hear that or not. I don't give a shit. Okay, obviously I'm not talking. This video is particularly about me not giving a shit about what people think. Okay. There's no reason to basically destroy a person because they use a certain word or because they showed a certain disrespect. Let me put it this way. If you were in the workforce, these kind of infractions would be demeritable. They would not be instantly terminatable, so to speak. And yes, I know those aren't words, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so you do it once, you get demerit, and obviously if your demerits stack up, you get fired. That shows a track record. Okay, but for one instance, it's ridiculous to try to destroy a person's career, destroy their livelihood, because they had one instance of doing something that was caught. And go back to the hypocrisy thing. Okay, people that are calling this out are the people who haven't been caught. Let's just put that out there right now. Let's be fucking honest about this. The people who are condemning this man are people who have not been caught. That's all there is to it. I mean, barring certain circumstances where you have the upper class and they generally don't do anything wrong and they don't do anything unsavory. I'm not disagreeing that many members of the upper class may legitimately frown upon this behavior and not be susceptible to a hypocritical stand in that manner, because they don't. Let's face it. The upper class does not relax and unwind the way we do. they're not as crude and as crass as the lower class and middle class people are. I know that's stereotyping. I know that's generalization. And I could be wrong. You know, I haven't met a lot of upper class people. But overall, you get the idea, and this is widely populated in media as well. You get the idea of the middle collar, low collar worker, so to speak, the blue collar, white collar, or I mean the blue collar and no collar worker. Um, you get this sense of them being more relatable, being more human, etc. I think that the upper class is just better at hiding their sins, so to speak, and then when it does bite them in the ass, it bites them in the ass big. But this overall social convention of destroying people for making these, what are basically societal errors, faux pas, if you will, uh, is fucking. I mean, I think people are making a mistake going after Logan Paul like this. I think they are making too big a deal out of it. I think the people who reacted the quickest and the most acerbically, that's not the word I'm looking for, but the most adamantly on it, with the most vigor against him. I think these people are doing exactly the same thing that they accused him of doing, only theirs is acceptable because they are in the right. They are the do-gooders, the stander-ups for justice. You know, okay. When we don't know that the only reason they did it, especially those that were including elements of the video in their own videos, was to get views, was to get clickbait. Okay? And, you know, this dumb bitch on The View was throwing this out, and I don't even know if she knows what clickbait actually means. Okay, but that's effectively what people are doing with these video responses. And you could accuse me of that, but as I said, people know I don't do this to make money. Okay, but you look at these other idiots, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're baiting for views. They're baiting for clicks. Let's get revenue off of this original suicide, this man's death, but we're actually going to pass it off like we're getting revenue off of the man who was dumb enough to air a video with the corpse. You know, let's crucify that guy instead so that we can pretend to be better people, so that we can go to sleep at the end of the night and be like, hey, it's all good. You know, we didn't kill nobody. Well, Logan Paul didn't kill nobody either. What he did was disrespectful. What he did was stupid. I don't think what he did is a fireable offense, if you get my drift. And so I'm just really pissed off about this. Is the one thing that I actually interrupted what I was doing, which you'll know if I succeed at this, cracking the lottery code, so to speak. But it's the one thing that I felt was important enough to address because it really pissed me off. You guys know how I am when I get really pissed off. It's why there's a Rogue One review and there's not a Last Jedi review. You know how I get when I get really pissed off. It pushes me to action. And so this is my take on it. Put in the comments if you agree or not. But frankly, let me put it this way. I will take your words at the merit they have at face value, I'll get what you're saying basically, and then I'll either agree or disagree. But I don't see how anyone can defend the swarm of assholes that are attacking Logan Paul so vehemently, and that includes those in the major media that have caused this problem to begin with, as I said. And so with that, I'm going to leave you guys. This is a very pissed off, frustrated big bastard. And I hope you have a good day, and I'll try to get more videos out shortly. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and throw a thumbs up. And we'll see you later. This is Big Bastard out.